Good morning, everyone. The Christian church in China is growing at the fastest rate in world history. In about 30 years, from about 1985 to 2015, the church went from about 1 million to way over 100 million. And there's a group of big data scientists at Boston University who are trying to figure out where all the growth was and how it happened. Many experts believe that by the end of this decade, China will be the largest Christian country in the world, with more believers than in the United States. And there's many experts, too, who believe that that's already happened. Almost all of the growth has happened in what's called house churches. In the West, we might call these the underground churches, which means they're not approved or sanctioned by the government. There's two classes of churches, and the China government has set up churches that are official and sanctioned by the Chinese authorities. They have also closed down many of the large traditional churches across China, hoping to get the people there to go to the official churches. So the churches that we would consider mega churches in the United States with 2,000 or more members, those have almost all been closed by authorities in an attempt to push those members to the official churches. Instead, though, that is not what's happened. Almost all of the growth has been in the unregistered, small, unofficial house churches. And you can see how a network of house churches would have some big advantages over what we would think of as a traditional church back home. For example, if you're going to be building a church for several hundred people, say, you have to raise a lot of money first. You have to buy land, often in cities, which would be expensive. You need to get a lot of government permits and approvals. You need, obviously, to build a building, which might take a long time. Parking lots, etc. And then you have to deal with the ongoing maintenance expenses to take care of that building. It needs to be air conditioned and heated, even when people aren't using it. So you can see that from a cost standpoint alone, smaller churches would have a very large advantage here. Also, if you have people who are in church leadership who have full-time jobs doing something else, you do not need to pay professional clergy. And it's very common to go to a house church where they're just playing a YouTube video for worship rather than having a professional music minister and choir. Under Chinese law and regulation, if a group of people is meeting for any reason, no matter what it is, in a number that is about 50 or so, you need government permission to host that meeting. Some jurisdictions are around 30 people, some are 40. But that is an impulse that helps keep these churches small and under the radar. As long as they're under that number, they don't need to get approval from anybody to meet together. Also, the fact that they are meeting in individual apartments or in offices, that's also self-limiting with respect to the number of people who can go. And so what you see is churches will meet, and it's a very tight group of people who know each other very, very well. And then it will grow to a certain point to where they can't really grow any further, and they'll cut it in half, and they'll do it again and again and again. Now, this is a business channel, so let's switch to that. There really is a very strong and growing and tight community here. I can tell 100 stories. It's very common for us to go into a factory now, and they'll give us marketing brochures and literature that will include Bible verses and Christian themes in their literature. This is true even of state-owned companies. Companies that are partially owned by the government itself will use Christian themes in their marketing. We might have a problem with a visa or a shipment or a paperwork that didn't get filed on time. and it's a serious problem. And then one of my guys will say, oh, I have a Christian sister in that city over there, let me call her. And then he calls her, she makes some phone calls, and then an hour later we get called back and say, oh, there's a Christian brother in the shipping department, give us the file again and he'll send the shipment on through, no problem. Or we'll be talking about a new company and somebody will say, oh, we can do business with them. Their CFO is a brother for 25 years. And even that is kind of a code speak for somebody who's been a Christian for a long time, from back when it was considerably risky for his own career and for his own family even to profess the Christian faith. And it is interesting to speculate and wonder if things continue in China and in Southeast Asia. It's not just happening here, by the way. It's in Nepal, it's in Bhutan, it's in northern India, Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, the neighboring countries here. There is a huge growth in the Christian church. And if the trends for the past several years continue into the next several years, what will it be like? How will that affect the business climate here, or in America, or in Europe? That is, if the trends continue for the next 20 years as they have for the previous 20, and China becomes much more Christian, while at the same time America is becoming much more secular, and Europe is becoming much more Islamic or Muslim, what does that mean for the future and for business? I guess we'll find out. Thanks for listening. Be good.